Music from the soundtrack of Once Were Warriors. This is 89.7 KFJC and the Norman Bates Memorial Soundtrack Show. I'm your host, Robert Emmett, and this morning, because we have Cinequest coming up, we're going to talk about some films, and we're going to start with a film that's having its world premiere at Cinequest this coming Friday at 7 p.m. at the Camera 12. It's called When the Man Went South. And so we have the producers and the director in the studio with us. We have Alex, A.O., and Viljama. And thanks for coming in on a rainy Saturday morning, gentlemen.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what the movie is? When the Man Went South. What is this movie about?
Okay, I'll take that one. So I wrote it and directed it. So this story is about a Tongan hunter, and the story's set 300 years ago, before there was ever any European contact with Tonga. Tonga is a kingdom, an island nation, and he leaves his home, and he's sent out on sort of a version of a walkabout to better himself, to hopefully one day return and lead his village as the chief. And he comes across some people along the way, and things occur. Very profound, hilarious things, and he comes home to a very startling event that puts him to a real test. So
Tonga is a really beautiful place. This is a remarkable movie because the shots are just absolutely gorgeous. And is this the first movie made in Tonga? Do you know?
First movie in the Tongan language, though. And we shoot in Ewa, the island of Ewa. That's the oldest island in the island kingdom. And of course, that's the first film or movie to be filmed in the island of Ewa.
Yes, first feature-length movie to ever be filmed there.
Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks that this is a documentary, and it's when we tell people we just went to Tonga to make a film, they think it's a documentary, and it's not a documentary. It's complete fiction, something that Alex wrote out of his odd brain. And it's a drama, and it's got some very dry humor, and it does play to it's subtitled, but it does play to American audiences just as well as it plays to the Tongan audience.
It's an interesting movie because it is it's a nice story. It's a story about finding your way in life and understanding that you have a guy who's a leader. He's a born leader, but he needs to learn how to be a leader, and so he does a walkabout, and it's a fun story because it's got a lot of thoughtfulness in it, and it's also really funny. It's got a lot of humor in it because just the way people treat each other and just how people get caught up in the same circular thinking that never gets them past hurts and animosities is really pretty funny.
Yeah, it's great that you noticed that because unlike AO here, I do consider it a comedy. And so, that was really the thinking, that it's a story that hopefully can just stand on its own as one man's journey through this beautiful landscape and the various people he comes across. But it's also intended to be topical for, things that are going on today. We see things taking place in Washington with one side digging in against the other, and really often it just seems like people have forgotten what their goal even is, other than all they care about is defeating the enemy, and they don't even know why they want to anymore. And we try to make that come through here in this story, and it seems like it does. We got to screen once, only to family and friends, a rough cut screening, and it went well, and we're thrilled that Cinequest is going to play it on a Friday night.
So it does world premiere this Friday night at 7 p.m. at the Camera 12, part of Cinequest San Jose's Film Festival that begins on March 4th and goes to the 16th. And you can go to Cinequest, cinequest.org to find out more about everything playing at Cinequest. And When the Man Went South will also play on Monday, the 10th, at 7 p.m., so a week from Monday, and then on Thursday, the 13th, at 5:15 p.m. at the Camera 12. So this is really pretty interesting because you didn't bring anybody over except the crew. I mean, everybody that's in the movie is just people who are from Tonga, and I thought you got some really great performances out of people who have never done anything like this before in their lives.
Well, I think, if you're gonna, what we did is basically everything you shouldn't do when you make a film, especially when it's extremely low budget. You know, you don't have a lot of money to make a film.
Mm-hmm.
We did pretty much everything you shouldn't do, which is not have a cast, not have professional actors, not have music, no wardrobe, no sets, and we did all that when we got there. The 5-people crew went there and did all that in the first week, and then for the next 23 days we shot the film. So
it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane to think about, going someplace, because we're also talking about a place where you're 3 hours by plane from resources. I mean, it's just because you're on a tropical island. You have to do things like the professor on Gilligan's Island to make sure that that you get everything done.
Well, that came down to this guy here, Viliami, who he's kind of like he's like the Don of Tonga. If he snaps his fingers, people literally come running. It was pretty amazing. If we needed fish the next morning, like live fish, the fish were there. He had somebody on a boat in the water somewhere catching fish for us. So
I'll tell you something else that really typifies how things would go. So as we were gearing up to start shooting, both of our underwater cameras went down. They cracked, filled with water, and we were pretty close to being SOL. And Viliami, Taua, to all of us, the Taua Apawa, he reached out to some of his family in Auckland, had another family friend who works for New Zealand Airlines, who was on one of the flights, transport the two cameras, the GoPros, out to us, which we had just bought online. And then, of course, they had to make it on the ferry, which is an altogether separate trip from the main island. And I would say, what was that, like 3 days later, we had new cameras out there. And we were on an island where, some folks don't have electricity, there aren't a lot of cars. We were remote, and so this is probably one of the few people in the world who could have pulled that off. So has a lot to do with how we managed to make the movie.
One of the things I liked about the photography of this movie was, you're talking about the cameras, is that there's a lot of stuff that happens underwater, but it's just really natural. The film flows very well. So you have our main character, Flying Fox, who has to go on a walkabout, and so he's walking along, and part of the stuff he's doing is he's going into the ocean to catch fish or swim and find things walking along the coral reef. Coral presented some problems with filming, didn't it?
Yes, sir. I think it was coral. I'm not actually really sure, but I did get a cut on my wrist, and then the next day I had some pretty nasty red tracks from my wrist that went all the way up my arm, under my armpit and onto my chest. So we went to the clinic, and they all just kind of laugh at you and give you a couple pills and send you on your way, because it seems to be common, I guess. But a couple people suggested that we rub some sort of tree leaf on it. That's what kills it, I guess. But
just drink kava. Drink more kava. That'll put you under. Here, for you folks at home, I'm lifting up my leg here for Robert. Here are 3 spots where I definitely left some skin behind. It's volcanic rock is what's out there, and it's sharp. It's beautiful, and it gave us some great, sort of ocean view scapes. You could see there, but it was. And I'd have to say that our star, who worked extremely hard for us, he had a little accident on the bottom of his foot one day. Took a few days to heal.
Wow. So, and where did you find this guy? Because he was great. The guy who plays the main character, I would never have guessed that this was his first film, because he's very natural. He's very expressive, and you put a lot on his shoulders. I mean, he's practically in every shot.
Yeah, that was something we really got lucky, I think, with him. We found him on the first day we were there, and then we had to he has a full-time job as a bank teller on the main island, and we really had to jump through a lot of hoops. And Viliami here did some favors for people, sent some flowers, and he actually paid for somebody's haircut to get him.
You need to tell them.
You paid for somebody's haircut? How did that work?
So we made an announcement on the radio, local radio stations, did some scouting. And then a couple of people showed up, including Soren Prescott, and good thing he was willing enough to be part of this movie. And then, there was a little problem with his job, but somehow they were not able to give him 4 weeks leave to be part of the movie. So what happened then, it just happened we ran into one of his supervisors at the hair salon, so we were able to pay for her haircut and hairdo that day, and then send her flower the next day, and then all of a sudden they were agreed, and then let him work with us for 4 weeks, and then take him back again for his job, which was great. They were able to do that.
That was probably one of the best loans that bank ever made.
True, yeah.
We were I was worried a little bit about the commitment, because we weren't really paying actors like you normally would in a film. We were just doing this out of the love of art, pretty much. So, but the people committed to this thing. There's 45 people total in the cast, and they committed to this thing wholeheartedly. There were a few incidents. They have some really some cultural things that they do that we had to sort of tear them away from a few times, but the commitment that they gave us was pretty unbelievable. I'm still shocked that we didn't lose somebody halfway through that was playing a main role.
So the movie is When the Man Went South, and it has its world premiere at Cinequest this Friday night at 7 p.m. at the Camera 12 Theaters in downtown San Jose. The Cinequest starts on March 4th and goes through the 16th. When the Man Went South plays Friday, the world premiere at 7 p.m., then also a week from Monday at 7 p.m. at the San Jose Repertory Theater, and then a week from Thursday, the 13th, at 5:15 at the Camera 12 again. If you'd like more information about the film or the Cinequest schedule, you can go to cinequest.org to find out more about Cinequest. And you guys have a website, too, for When the Man Went South. What's that website?
WhenTheManWentSouth.com.
There you go. So it's a fun website too, and I think I was just blown away how beautiful everything was. And one of the things that I thought was really fun too was because you're telling a story. You're telling kind of a cultural story. You're telling a story of different people. And what was nice was how you were able really to bring out who these people were without making fun of them, without without kind of caricaturizing them too. You really felt like you were looking at real people that were kind of going through. This is the kind of stuff that they do, and so it's a well done film in that way.
Thanks very much. It's something. When I was setting out to write it, that's something I kept in mind. Definitely don't want to offend anyone, unless I'm trying to. And once it was done, that's when I sat down with Viliami. And at first, we know each other through work. We all have day jobs, unfortunately. But, I asked him how much I want to make sure this is accurate. And when he showed interest in producing, and so Viliami is a producer, he's a technical advisor. He also did all the translation. He's the one who really made sure it was accurate. And I can think of one scene where we put a bunch of food in one of the baskets, and someone was going to carry it, and he stopped us and let us know, that particular basket can't be used for that. That's used in funerals. You may put a few other things in there, but not those plantains or the what was it?
Dirt donut.
Well, and it is, I mean, when you're doing a cultural film, it is sort of a minefield of something that looks good visually, but has a completely different cultural context. Yeah. And so there's this one part that when he's walking between two different tribes, kind of being an emissary, there's this area that looks like is it a ruin? Is it a beautiful rock formation that he keeps going through?
The cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the main features of island of Ewa. It's called Lakufa'anga, and that's the only such sites in the whole Pacific. And it just happened. It's in Ewa, and we were very fortunate to shoot there.
Yeah, those cliffs. I mean, when you're out there in person, they just go. They are so extraordinarily high. I mean, it feels like 1,000 feet. I mean, I don't know what. The wind comes up off of it, whipping so hard that the local guys who were showing us around the first day, we spent our first day and just bone-jarring off-roading tour we were taking on. And what these guys do is you take your T-shirt off, throw it off the cliff as hard as you can, balled up, and it just blows back, and it goes up into the air and blows back about 40 yards. Everything you throw, nothing will fall down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't jump, though, right?
We should give a shout out to the two other guys that aren't here, which is Zach Hefner and Derek Hanley, who were the other two guys in our crew. And Zach did about 99% of all the camera work. He has a phenomenal eyeball for composition, and it's a beautiful place, and it wasn't really that hard to capture the beautiful imagery there, but Zach is.
You just took back your compliment.
I did. Just yanked it back from Zach, but he's a talented kid.
You know what's great though? It's sort of like it really is a challenge to shoot well when everything's so beautiful because you're telling a story. You're not shooting a travelogue. And what was nice was that the scenery is there. But you're still telling the story. So the composition done in a way, and editing is really nice too. So he's walking down a really long beach, and so you see him, kind of jump cuts. So he kind of moves to different places in the beach. But you just so you're still locked in his story, but you get to see this. I mean, beautiful white sand, beautiful blue sea. I mean, it's just like a remarkable place.
The island is like it's like a big wedge. It's like a big doorstop. On one side of the island, it's these, 100-feet cliffs, and then on the other side, it's white sand beaches and coral beaches. So it's a pretty unique spot on the planet. And the story is what drives the movie, and the story has some interesting characters. The sort of the sort of people that we meet, and one of the things that I liked is that you have Flying Fox who's going out to find himself, learn how to be a leader, and he meets other leaders, and other leaders are not always the people we can count on, that they are just as locked up in their own things. That it was also nice that everybody wasn't Yoda. Everybody wasn't this spiritual leader. I mean, they were just human beings like everybody else with human flaws.
Yeah, and it's kind of coming back to the theme that I wanted to get through, which is sometimes the smartest guy isn't the one in charge, and there's a lot of absurdity in things, and it comes back to human nature and what it is that we're really after. And so there are definitely some scenes where Flying Fox sits down with Singing Whale is his chief, but there's Two Palms and there's Spry Porpoise, and he these village leaders say, some of the things you're proposing, Flying Fox, they sound good to me, but I mean, it's unthinkable to try out some of these quote unquote radical ideas you're proposing, which really we don't want to spoil too much here, but we can't try that. We hate these people over here. We know we're supposed to hate them. We are at war with them, and we're locked in step with that thought. And so it's nice that you picked up on that.
It is a funny movie, and it is it's very much human nature. So it's a fun stuff, and shot on Tonga with people who lived on the island. And When the Man Went South world premiere is this Friday night, 7 p.m. at the Camera 12. Then it plays again a week from Monday at 7 p.m. at the San Jose Repertory Theater, and a week from Thursday at 5:15 at the Camera 12. You can go to Cinequest, cinequest.org to find out more about the whole program, or you can go to whenthemanwentsouth.com to find out more about this particular film. So I wanted to ask about the music, because this is also the kind of movie that music can trip people up, but the score was great. It's mostly percussion, but it just works so well with the movie. It helps move it along. It gives you a sense of place, and it doesn't take you out of the movie. It just really brings you into the movie.
Well, that's actually sounds fantastic what you just said. So I work with some bands, and when we started thinking about the music for this thing, we needed something that first fit the period. We can't just drop a Green Day song in there and say, this is great. But so it needed to fit the period, which was hard to find music from that period that we could actually sort of replicate or learn from. And then I needed to find a drummer that could do this and take it on and do a good job with it, and his name is John Paul Gaster, and he is a drummer for the band Clutch, who's he's a world touring musician, and he did me a favor for this. And it also needed to sound somewhat raw and not so in a fancy studio recording. It needed to sound kind of like a guy in the jungle playing beats. I didn't want it to sound too refined, because it would kind of it wouldn't match up with what we were trying to tell. So, this is, it's one of those things where you beg, borrow, and steal with all your friends to make this thing happen. So, and that was just another example of that.
Well, it all came together. All the pieces are really nice story, wonderful photography, and it moves well. And you've got great music behind it. So I know you guys are waiting to see what the reaction is at your world premiere, and I wish you the best of luck for that.
Robert, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So this is 89.7 KFJC and the Norman Bates Memorial Soundtrack Show. Let's hear some music on your source for sound, KFJC.